Hello everyone and welcome back to the 3T Path channel. Welcome back to our Uddhava-gita course. So we finished in the last class the chapter on the mystic powers, on the yogic superpowers, a fascinating topic. And as Krishna was describing these mystic powers, the focus was always that the yogi would absorb his mind in some aspect of God, of Krishna, and some aspect of his power, of his nature, of his quality. And so then there's a natural transition now to this new chapter where Krishna is going to start describing his what's called opulences, his power, his nature. So it's a very important kind of chapter. It's called aiswarya-jnana. It's this knowledge of the aiswarya, of the power of God. And as we'll see Krishna mentioned in the beginning of this chapter, this is very close to what happened with Arjuna in the Bhagavad-gita, where Arjuna asks Krishna to explain his powers, his nature, his powerful nature. And of course it gets up to the point where Krishna even shows him his all-encompassing nature as the Virat Rupa, as the universal form. But that was in the Bhagavad-gita. So here Krishna is actually going to mention to Uddhava that, look, I did this also with Arjuna. Now, of course, if you want to watch all the previous classes, make sure you become a member of this channel, and the instructions are here in the description of the video, and then you can access the whole course. It's already a huge course with over 80 classes, each of half an hour, so it's over a semester. We're climbing towards 2 semesters worth of course available here for you on the Uddhava-gita. It's amazing, an amazing journey, a very powerful, in-depth study of yoga, of the Vedic culture, and of devotion to Krishna. Very important. So, we are in the 11th canto, 16th chapter, verse 1. So, Uddhava is going to start with what Krishna was saying about his nature, his power. So he's going to start glorifying Krishna and then asking him to give him more information on his glories, his opulences. Sri Uddhava said, "My dear Lord, you are beginningless and endless, the absolute truth himself, unlimited by anything else. You are the protector and life giver, the destruction and creation of all things that exist." So this is a nice start. So these prayers are very important because they allow us to access certain moods, certain aspects of God which strengthen our consciousness, which help reconnect our consciousness with God, which is the purpose of yoga, to connect our consciousness, ourselves, with God. Now, when we, of course, with Krishna, it's such a complex, vast study, and Krishna is famous for his 10th canto. We're in the 11th canto here. He's famous for his 10th canto Leelas. And when we focus on the sweetness of Krishna, and Krishna as the butter thief, so those things are very powerful. Those things also, fantastically attract the mind. They're even better. They're sweeter and there's more love. But, it requires a certain level already of understanding and devotion to be able to appreciate, the sweetness of Krishna, to be able to appreciate Krishna as the flute player, as the dancer, the one who dances with the gopis in the rasa dance, or the butter thief. So it takes a little more. But on a more basic level, and you can see this in the religions of the world, on a more basic level, it's the power of God. We want to get that, okay, let me get this straight, like this power, who is this, just basic, obvious, look, you should obviously worship God because he's so powerful. Never mind that he's so sweet and wonderful. That's like a more advanced stage. But at the beginning, just as we're very mundane materialists and we're identifying with the body and we want to know what's best for us, and just like a very calculated thing. So for that very calculated mindset, you want to know how powerful God is. You want to understand, like, oh, wait a second, I could be counting on the vast power of Krishna. I could have his shelter. I could be with him. So you want to know about these things. So when you hear about these different aspects of God, then you go, oh, I need that. So for example, right here, he said, beginningless and endless. So that's, wow, everything here we start, it ends, everything is so temporary, so ephemeral. So what would, wow, you know, so I can connect with someone, with something that is beginningless and endless. Of course, we are too, Krishna says in Bhagavad-gita. But so just to know that there is this fixed reality, this fixed thing beyond all the changing ephemeral aspects of material nature, of the temporary nature. There's this endless, beginningless thing, God. So that's important. You are the protector and life giver. So that's very important. Like, again, this is a calculated understanding of God. Life is, you know, death is everywhere. So you want to know about the protector. There is danger at every step. The yogi understands that this is a very dangerous situation. Being incarnated, especially as a puny human in Kali Yuga, it's very dangerous. Just like everything, these invisible viruses can kill you. You don't even see them. They come in and kill you in a horrible way. They drown you to death, filling your lungs with fluid or something horrible. Like, what is that? You didn't even see it. You need a special microscope to see this silly thing that kills you like that. So, and it's just, you know, it's like an insect bite, it's somebody runs, it's a truck, it's a plane falling down, it's the weather, it's your house falls in your head. I mean, it's just danger at every step. You know, of course, there are wars and criminals. It's just horrible. So you need a protector. So understand, it's one of the very nice things about devotion is this feeling of protection, where you understand that, oh, my body might be even hurt, but I'll be protected. Me, as the real me, I'll be protected no matter what. So that's a very important, wonderful sentiment to cultivate, and you can really feel that. I certainly feel that. I mean, I have Nrsimhadev. If you especially want to cultivate that, you know, having Nrsimhadev in your altar is very nice. This form of God, which is especially dedicated to protection. So protection and life giver, in the sense like life always exists, we're always existing, but that he lets life exist. He lets souls come into new bodies. So life giver, also very important aspect for living, for being alive. You want to know, well, how did I become alive? How can things become alive? Oh, it's through God. So this kind of information, it seems a basic in a way, but this is actually the main motivator for devotion to God throughout the ages. Throughout the ages, what made people become devotees of God is to understand His power, especially things like protector and life giver. That kind of thing, very basic thing, very important. And the destruction and creation of all things that exist. So the things as well. So you need things come to be. How? Through God. God creates and destroys the entire universe, of course. So very important kind of knowledge. This is called aiswarya-jnana. Again, this is a kind of the knowledge of the supreme power of the Lord to stimulate awe. Aishwarya is the sense of awe. Oh, great Lord. You see that again in, you know, the great, this powerful Lord, you know, avert your eyes. You know, that kind of devotion. That's also like, it's, you know, it's a nice rasa as well. You know, it gets you going as well. Purport. Brahma means the greatest of all and the cause of everything. Uddhava here addresses the Lord as Paramam, or Supreme Brahma, because in his feature as Bhagavan, as the Lord, the personal Lord, the Lord is the highest feature of the absolute truth and the shelter of unlimited spiritual opulences. So again, it's worth repeating this every time it comes up. This term, absolute truth, it's a philosophical term of that thing from which all other things come from or depend on. So the absolute truth, so what's that tattva? The word in Sanskrit is tattva. What is this? Oh, this comes from this, and this comes from that, and this. Okay, but what's the absolute? Where does it start? What's the original mover? Oh, okay, that's God. So that's what it means. It just means the absolute truth, the source of all other things that are. Unlike those of ordinary living entities, the Lord's opulences cannot be restricted by time, and thus the Lord is anadi antam, without beginning or end, and apavitram, unhindered by any superior or equal potency. So of course I didn't actually mention that. Unlimited by anything else. Of course, with God there's no competition, because everything is coming from Him. It's different from the concept that some people have of competing gods. Back in the days of Jesus, there was a strong Gnostic movement. So there really was like the nice God, and there was the evil God who had created this world. So they really had those two ideas. There was this evil God. So there was some competition there. But with the Vedic system, because Krishna is the source, because God is the source of everything else, He's again the absolute truth in the philosophical language, there is no such possibility. Everything is within God. Everything's within Him, and everything is coming from Him. So there's no competition. So He's unlimited by anything else. Of course, we are extremely limited by everything else. Other people come by, governments, what to speak of God. We're completely limited in so many regards. Like so many living entities can overpower us, take our things, kill us. Again, like I said, even like an invisible virus can kill you. Like you don't even see it, it's so small, and it can still kill you. So we're very limited, but not God. God is unlimited. The opulence of the material world is also resting within the Lord, who alone can protect, maintain, create, and destroy the material world. In this chapter, Sri Uddhava inquires from the Lord about his spiritual and material opulences. So we use this term opulences in order to refine his appreciation of the Lord's position as the absolute truth. So this is the focus, okay? To refine the appreciation of the Lord's position. Again, we all need that. I mean, Uddhava thought he needed it, and we certainly need it. I know it's, for me personally, it's very important, very helpful. It's, it wouldn't be in Bhagavad-gita and Uddhava-gita everywhere. It wouldn't be there if it didn't really help us. It really kind of puts you in the right place, and then you can progress to like the finer sentiments of rasa, of sweetness and the mellows. You can progress to those things as well. Of course you should, but first, this is what you have to understand. First you understand who God is and how desperately important, how urgent it is that you take shelter of God, that you connect to God, that you seek His blessings. This is essential, and then you progress to higher levels of love, of prem. In this chapter, even Lord Vishnu, the ultimate creator of the material world, is an expansion of Lord Krishna, and thus Sri Uddhava wishes to fully appreciate the unique status of his personal friend. Verse 2, my dear Lord, although it is difficult for the impious to understand that you are situated in all superior and inferior creations, those brahmanas who are actual knowers of the Vedic conclusion worship you in truth. So, of course, people who are not well situated, people who don't understand the akrita atmas, the atmas who behave badly, That's what the word kind of means. So those Atmas who behave badly, those souls who are misbehaving, they can't understand the Lord. And that's why this kind of knowledge is good for them to understand the Lord. It's the basic kind of knowledge. But people who, the Brahmanas he mentions, those who are dedicated to the Brahminical conclusion, they understand your true position. So he's saying this is something that's, a divisive point. Like, you have to understand this, and if you don't, you're in trouble. If you understand this, then you're all set. So it's very important to understand these opulences of God. Purport. The behavior of saintly persons is also to be taken as evidence. And therefore it is here stated that although ignorant, impious persons are bewildered before the Lord's all-pervading feature, those with purified, clear consciousness worship the Lord as He is. In this chapter, Sri Uddhava inquires about the Lord's opulences, and here the words Uddhava-gita bhuteshu within superior and inferior creations clearly refer to the Lord's external opulences, those manifested in the material world. The saintly Brahmanas or Vaishnavas worship Lord Krishna within all things and yet recognize the variety in the Lord's creation. For example, in worshiping the deity, the devotees will select the nicest flowers, fruits, and ornaments for decorating the transcendental form of the Lord. Similarly, although the Lord is present in the heart of every conditioned soul, the devotee will give more attention to a conditioned soul interested in the message of Lord Krishna. Although the Lord is everywhere, the devotees make distinctions for the sake of the Lord's service between His presence in superior ucha and inferior avachishu creations. Okay. Verse 3. Please tell me of the perfections that the great sages achieve by worshiping you with devotion. Also, kindly explain which of your different forms they worship. So now he wants to know more about the benefits. Now, once you understand the nature of God, you worship Him. So what are the benefits? What happens? What do they achieve by worshiping you? Why should I bother worshiping God? So that's the kind of question he is asking. And what form of you, because he knows Krishna is like, he's just manifest in so many different forms and so many aspects of him and avatars. So in what form do they worship you in? So it's a very nice general question to get into the details of devotion and the benefits of devotion. Purport. Sri Uddhava here inquires about the spiritual opulences of the Lord, which consists primarily of His Vishnu Tattva expansions, such as Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. By worshipping different plenary expansions of the Lord, one achieves particular perfections, and Sri Uddhava wants to know about this. So remember in the last chapter, we were all talking about how worshipping different, focusing your mind, concentrating your mind in perfect absorption, perfect samadhi in different aspects of God would grant different powers, different results, different mystic powers. So on a wider topic, not exactly like trying to get mystic powers, but on a wider topic, worshipping the different forms of God would then also give different results, and Uddhava is asking about that. Of course, what we recommend, what we're doing here, is worshipping the most intimate form of Krishna, Krishna of Vrindavan, Radha Krishna more specifically. And what the result of that is endless bliss, is the sweetness. So we're aiming for that. We're aiming for that intimacy, that bliss. That's the predominating focus of my spirituality and the spirituality of my spiritual lineage. So we want that sweetness of the intimate rasas of loving Krishna in the mellows of Vrindavan. But there are also these famous planary expansions. This word planary just means full, just full, complete, planary, so full expansions. So in a more technical jargon, it's a little technical, complicated, but there's this idea of these expansions of God as Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. It's very technical, but in terms of God is full of opulence, aiswarya, again the word aiswarya aspect of God, then you have Narayan, and then Narayan expands to these Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha aspects. Verse 4, O my Lord, maintainer of all, although you are the supersoul of the living entities, you remain hidden. Thus, being bewildered by you, the living entities cannot see you, although you are seeing them. So this is very interesting, right? So even though God is the supersoul of all living entities, what does that mean? He is literally inside every living body. So everything that is alive, and you can use the biology, modern biology's definition of what's alive. So whatever is alive, inside that thing that is alive is two things, the soul and the supersoul. So the individual soul, but next to that is God, is an expansion of Krishna called Paramatma, or just translation supersoul, because it literally means that. So the supersoul, so he's within everyone. So everybody should be able to see him because he's within everyone. But Uddhava points out, you remain hidden. He's like, where's the supersoul? I can't see it. Yeah, you can't see it. It's transcendental, it's spiritual. Can't see it. No, you can cut up a person and you won't see it, because it's not material, so you can't see it with your material eyes. So it's supersoul is there, hidden within everyone. Thus, being bewildered by you, they cannot see you. So we're bewildered by what? By Maya, by the Lord's illusory potency. So we can't see our own souls, we can't see other souls, and we can't see God, because those things are beyond matter. It's a different kind of thing altogether. And we can't see any of that. We're only seeing matter. So we're bewildered by Krishna and we cannot see him. Although he says, you are seeing them. So, but Krishna is certainly seeing us. Krishna isn't bewildered by anything, because everything is his power. And he is certainly seeing us. So Krishna is always with us, always seeing us. And you should know that. It's a nice thing to know. I mean, it might worry you in the beginning, because you're like, oh, have I been a bad person? I don't want Krishna to see that. But once you get over these silly ideas, you'll be very happy to know that your very best friend, Krishna, the most powerful, most wonderful, sweetest best friend you've ever had, the most loyal friend, is always with you and is always seeing you. You're never alone. It's very nice. It's a wonderful feeling to cultivate. Purport. The Lord exists as the supersoul within everything. He also appears in various incarnations, or sometimes empowers a devotee to act as an incarnation. All such forms of the Lord are unknown to the non-devotees. The bewildered conditioned soul the bewildered conditioned souls think that the supreme enjoyer, Sri Krishna, is actually meant to be enjoyed by them for their sense gratification. Praying to God for specific material benedictions and assuming God's creation to be their personal property, the non-devotees cannot understand the actual form of the Lord. They therefore remain foolish and bewildered. Within the universe, everything is subject to creation, maintenance, and destruction, and thus the supersoul is the only actual controller in the material world. Unfortunately, when the Super Soul appears in various incarnations to clarify his position, ignorant persons think that the Super Soul is merely another creation of the modes of material nature. As stated in this verse, they cannot see that person who's actually seeing them. And they simply remain bewildered. So that's what happens. And then of course people don't see God because you can't see him. But then he makes himself seen like Krishna did a little over 5,000 years ago. And then people still don't believe it. It's like, oh, what can you do? You know, Krishna's there. He spends 125 years on earth, well documented. We have thousands of pages of information. Everything is, we have his teachings in Bhagavad-gita, his teachings here in Uddhava-gita. So everything is very nicely documented by Sri Vyasadeva. So Vyasadeva, the compiler of the Bhagavad Purana, that was his job. Vyas means editor. He was the editor, Deva, divine. He was the divine, he was the God editor. He comes down, it's a special avatar just to document the whole thing. Vyasadeva. But then still people don't believe, so what can you do, you know? And then Krishna's coming so many times, you know, from time to time, Krishna comes down in a different form. And everything is nicely registered and still people don't believe it. The Bhagavad Purana has so many different avatars described. Throughout the ages, since the beginning of the universe, different avatars described their teachings, the relationship of the devotees with them. Everything nicely described. And still people won't understand it. So that's just the nature of Maya. Verse 5. The supremely potent, O supremely potent Lord, please explain to me your innumerable potencies, which you manifest on the earth, in heaven, in hell, and indeed in all directions. I offer my humble obeisance at your lotus feet, which are the shelter of all holy places. So then he's finishing up his request here, and as his last request, you know, he's just finishing up his request for Krishna to explain and present to him now his powers. So, you are the supremely potent Lord. So, explain to me your innumerable potencies. So, you know, God has infinite power and infinite potencies. But, you know, explain some to me, you know, give me an idea, he's asking. So give me a bit of this aiswarya-jnana so I can understand how wonderful and powerful you are. And again, when you understand certain aspects, like, oh, protector, oh, life giver. So these things kind of like are little switches you can flick on in your conscious. Oh, okay, that thing. So like, oh, the supreme, all this. And then you understand, oh, he's the, you know, the taste in water. So that gives a little hook. Oh, when I taste water, I can remember that Krishna is the taste in water. And then the fire, the heat and fire. So when I see fire, heat, oh, Krishna. So different aspects of his potencies can trigger your connection in that moment. So it's always very helpful for your yogic practice. Purport. Uddhava here inquires about the Lord's material and spiritual potencies as manifested within our universe. Just as ordinary animals or insects living in human cities cannot appreciate the scientific, cultural, or military achievements of man, similarly foolish materialists cannot appreciate the mighty opulences of the personality of Godhead, even those manifested within our universe. For the appreciation of ordinary human beings, Uddhava requests the Lord to reveal exactly how and in what forms he expands his potencies. As already explained, the Lord is the essential ingredient of all that exists, and thus any mighty or opulent manifestation must ultimately rest on the Lord himself. So very nice. I hope you enjoy that and have the rest of your day with lots of peace and lots of love. Hare Krishna.